Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first judge training around the PLTW competition that we're hosting presented by Chevron. First off, one of the first things I want to do is just make sure that everyone can hear me. So you should see a chat feature on your screen where you can enter your message. If someone could just real quickly just type in there real quick that they can hear me, that'd be greatly appreciated. Okay. Wonderful. So I will go ahead and get started. We might have a few join. If you have any questions, since this is a relatively small group today, just please don't be afraid just to go ahead and speak up or anything along those lines. Again, my name is Ryan Huckleroad. I am currently the partnerships manager at Project Lead the Way, as well as I kind of oversee accounts, as well as I'm overseeing the innovation portal competition as well and making sure everything's going smoothly. I am joined today by my colleague Elliot. If Elliot wants to go ahead and introduce himself here real quick.
Hi, my name is Elliot Mork here with Project Lead the Way, Director of Partnerships on the Partnerships team. My work focuses on creating opportunities for students by partnering with our industry corporate partners to provide opportunities to students both for access to the Project Lead the Way program as well as provide opportunities to corporations to recruit students and for initiatives like this when we get to put together a neat opportunity for students and invite you all to come be a judge and volunteer in this opportunity. It's kind of a win-win connecting students to professionals, technical professionals as of yourself to get some of that feedback back to students, kind of expose them to some of the real world and expose you to what we're doing, kind of both, kind of a win-win scenario here. A lot of my work focuses on building partnerships. One of the partnerships that was really instrumental in the innovation portal is the partnership with Chevron. They've been supporting the innovation portal in general for about 4 years now, and really the impetus behind this current design of the innovation portal and why it is such a robust tool. So they've provided all that support. They've also been instrumental in building it to the point where we can launch this competition. This is the first time we've launched the PLTW Engineering Design Competition nationally, and so they've been instrumental in not only support financially, but also in just including us and listing us on the Chevron Humankind site, so folks like you can find us and sign up. And we really couldn't do what we're doing without the judging happening on the innovation portal. It's really neat to have a competition for students and for them to be able to be able to provide recognition to students for the awesome work they're doing in their classroom, and none of that would be possible without the judging that you're going to be doing here for the competition. And so thank you for your time. Thank you to Chevron both. It's just it really means a lot to us and to provide this opportunity for students across the nation that are taking Project Lead the Way to really get that work exposed at a national level. And even the winners will be coming to our national conference in Orlando in this October. So it's a really neat opportunity for the students to be able to enter this competition. I also want to reiterate, sometimes we have up to like 30, 40 people on the line when we do these. And so we manage the muting, but today I think this group was just not an inconvenient time for a lot of people, but I'm glad we had it so that you guys are all here and you could make it. So if there's any questions that you have as we go along, please feel free to ask a question, and we may miss something, so feel free to give us a shout either in the chat box or just, we're not going to be muting you, so just speak up if you want to. So I think we can move on now, Ryan, to the overview.
Yes, there it comes up for me. Real quick, just kind of give you guys an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. I know a lot of you are potentially new to Project Lead the Way, so we just want to give you a quick, very high level on what we are, kind of what we do and all of that. We're going to kind of explain the competition to you in detail so you can understand what type of works you're going to be receiving, where it's from potentially, as well as go over a timeline so you have an understanding of everything that kind of has to happen, because we do have very tight windows to make sure we can get everything done in a complete time. We'll make sure you understand how to access the innovation portal, log in, understand kind of everything around the innovation portal, and then as well as accessing portfolios that will be assigned to you to then take time and review them and judge them. and the rubric as well. Just again, we'll keep hitting on these time frames and dates in several emails that keep going out, as well as through this webinar. But we will have the portfolio time frame will be May 1st. The 12th is when you'll be able, or we'll ask you to judge. You will have anywhere from 3 to 5 portfolios to judge. Each one, depending on the content, should take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, maybe a little bit less. This is a new rubric, which we'll go into a little bit more detail on as well. That'll kind of help you, that might move things a little bit quicker. And then we'll have, we ask that you have all portfolios judged at the end of the business on May 12th. Okay, and then moving forward, real quick, Project Lead the Way, we are a nonprofit. We are currently in over 9,000 schools across the country. We are in all 50 states. We provide hands-on curriculum to students K through 12. We essentially have 5 pathways that students can go on. So essentially a student in grades, as a kindergartner now, could go Project Lead the Way for the next 12 years through their entire education career, K through 12. We currently have just over 10,000 programs. Again, we serve the entire United States, and one of the great things that we have is we have a network of 35,000 teachers, which is a great impact that we're making on students every day, as well as we have roughly about 2 million students participating in Project Lead the Way every year as well. Go into a little bit more details around each program. I did kind of briefly mention that we had 5 pathways. Our first pathway, which is an elementary school, is considered K through 5, and that's PLTW Launch. From there, students can move up to middle school, which is considered PLTW Gateway, and those are grades 6 through 8. As well as at the high school level, we have 3 pathways, which computer science, engineering, and biomedical sciences. And each one, majority, almost all of our classes build on each other. So a lot of times students can just take one Project Lead the Way course, or they can take a pathway as well. Going into a little bit more around the competition scope and parameters. First off the bat, Elliot kind of touched on this as well. This is the first engineering design competition that's actually been ran by Project Lead the Way. In past years, we've used Innovation Portal, but it was other nonprofit organizations that were running competitions. It was potentially colleges and universities running competitions. This is the first one that we're fully running 100%. So please do provide us any type of feedback if there's something that you maybe feel we should cover more, didn't cover. We welcome feedback. And something very unique as well is that we're asking everyone to kind of keep everyone on the same page and make judging easier for you guys, is we actually created a problem or solution that we're asking individuals to focus on, and that was to improve or create something in your community's infrastructure. I think we can all agree that something that's in the news daily is about our infrastructure without the United States. And this allows students great flexibility to kind of go in an array of different avenues, but keeps them central in one central location or theme. So that's kind of what we're asking all students to work on. Again, we kind of briefly talked about this as well. This is a national competition. So any students grades 9 through 11 do have the ability to actually enter this competition. Right now, currently, we have around 14 states representative in this competition, which is a great turnout, considering this is kind of the first competition. It hasn't really gained much attention yet. And eligibility, we have just asked that students 9 through 11 are participating. And the reason for that is there is a capstone class in our engineering design course. So there is a possibility that students potentially could have been working on this project all year. And we want to make sure we made that competition fair and streamlined, and a student that's been working on that competition all year all of a sudden doesn't have the ability to then enter this competition, and clearly they should blow everyone away with theirs. So that's why we made it 9 through 11, and we just asked that there's groups of 2 to 4 as well. And Elliot touched upon this as well, kind of how we're going to recognize the students, but we will be giving them the grand prize. Essentially is a trip to the 2017 PLTW Summit, Orlando, Florida. So we'll invite them down to the summit where they'll have the opportunity to not only present their kind of what their project was, but also we're hoping that they'll be recognized on stage as well. And Chevron will have the ability to bring them up on stage and present them with a plaque. As well as the school will be receiving a $5,000 scholarship to use as they see fit. For second place, students will be receiving a $2,500 scholarship for the school, as well as headphones. Beat headphones, we know that's something that all students are enjoying now is headphones, so we're going to kind of give that to them, as well as third place, will also be Beat headphones and a $1,000 scholarship or grant for the school as well. So students are extremely excited, as well as teachers are, because they always can use a couple of extra dollars for their school. Competition timeline. I'll go over this just real quickly so you can see kind of how everything's working. We actually just launched this competition on March 1st, so keep that in mind when you are reviewing portfolios, that essentially students only had about 60 days to present this, to come up with a issue or a problem and then a solution, and to build that out as well. So keep that in mind. About a week and a half away, we're actually going to go ahead and close the registration, so we'll have a better idea of the number of portfolios we'll be receiving and reviewing. As what we're anticipating now is that a majority of students are actually working on their portfolios. They just haven't successfully registered for the competition. And then April 26th, which is the big deadline of when everything needs to be submitted, and the submission deadline. And then from there, so between essentially April 26th and May 1st, that's when Elliot and myself will be working on assigning your portfolios out. Our goal is to get them out to you by May 1st. If we can get them out to you earlier, by all means, we will get those out to you. So just expect those around those, but you won't receive them no later than May 1st. And then again, there's that judging window of May 12th is the deadline to have all those portfolios reviewed to us. And then from there, we hope to be able to notify the schools the week of May 15th through the winners are, because we understand a lot of schools will probably be heading home end of May, beginning of June for summer vacation. So we want to make sure we get a hold of those schools and let them know that they were awarded a top 3, that they were part of the top 3. And then from here, Elliot's going to kind of take over and kind of navigate you around the innovation portal and outline some important things, as well as the rubric. So Elliot, if you want to go ahead.
Sure, thank you, Ryan. I want to follow up on one thing that Ryan said too. The May 12th is going to be the May 1st through 12th is the judging window, and that the key thing with the judging window is we can't give you the portfolios before students submit them to us, and so we have to wait until May 1st, and then to determine a winner, we have to have everyone's judging done, and so we want to announce the winners May 15th. So that window gives us about 14 days, I think, maybe a little bit less than 14 days, May 1st through 12th, the opportunity for y'all to actually go in and work on this. It's going to be self-paced, so it's not any time that's scheduled. So as whenever you can find time to do it, that's when it's going to be done. It's going to take about 3 to 5 hours because you're going to get 3 to 5 portfolios assigned to you, and you can split that up however you want. It could be on the weekends, or if your employer is nice enough to do volunteer hour days, and you could take sometime during the week. But it's kind of up to you whenever you want to. You can grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and do it on the porch. Weather's looking great for that nowadays here in the Midwest, but whenever you want to, it's going to be self-paced other than this webinar. So to get connected to the competition, I think most of you are already invited as a judge, but I want to go through it real quickly to make sure, to see if anyone's not hooked up, and then show you kind of the process and see how you fit into the bigger realm of the competition. So the first step is to create the account, an Innovation Portal account. It can be any account that, any email address, but we do ask if you use one different than what you signed up for on the Smartsheet or on the Innovation Portal, if you use a different email address, then we need that actual email address that you signed up with. There's no special Innovation Portal account for judges. Everyone shares the same type of account. It's just we add permissions on once you create the account. So if you use an email address different than what you registered on the Innovation Portal with for this competition, which is the same email that you got the invite to this webinar, if you use a different one, let us know. We can replace it in our database and make sure we get you connected to the competition correctly. So after you send that to us, or if it's the same email address, we can send you an invitation. You probably already got that. The invitation will come through as an email, and it will also come into your Innovation Portal account as a notification. And I'll show you where you can see that. If you want to bypass the email step, you can just accept it on the Innovation Portal after logging in. One note about those invitations that get sent out, if you click on it twice, you might get a 404 or a 500 error, depends on I've seen both of them, I think. That means you've clicked that link twice, and so it's no longer valid, and then you hit the error. That probably means you're already accepted as a judge, so I'll show you how to verify that you're already a judge if you get that error. Last step is to accept the invitation. So if you click that link, it'll do it automatically for you, or you can log in and go to your notifications section to actually accept the invitation. If you hit any issues during this process, just reach out to us at innovation@pltw.org. Ryan and I both have access to that email address, and we're pretty quick on getting back to people. And so if you hit any issues, don't wait. Just let us know, and we'll work with you to get through it. So how do students use it? So that's kind of the judge experience. So how do students use the Innovation Portal? Anyone can create a portfolio. So a student can create a portfolio, which is kind of like we think about that as a 3-ring binder that has tabs on it. So there's different sections, also a cover page, but there's one binder or portfolio of information. They can invite their project partners. They can invite as many project partners as they want. Typically, we see group sizes range from 2 to 4. For the competition, we are requiring that. The group size is somewhere between 2 and 4. We don't want individuals doing this, and we want a group of students. And then it past 4, it tends to kind of group work tends to disintegrate a little bit. And most classes typically use that group structure as well, so we're requiring anywhere between 2 and 4 students work on a portfolio. Students can invite their teacher, not as collaborators like these. The project partners can actually edit and work on the portfolio with them. The teacher mostly is just a view access, and so that's where the teacher can check up on them and see if they're making adequate progress throughout the year or throughout the 60 days where they've been working on this portfolio. They can check in and just see where they're at while they're building it. One of the cool things too, and this is kind of a plug for future involvement if you ever want to get more involved and work with students a little bit more, is students can invite project mentors to help review their portfolio. What's neat about that is that it's the exact same review process that you're going to be doing as judges in the competition, except it's not actually scored in a competition. So it's more of that formative feedback for students where they can get scored. Say, as a project mentor could tell them that they got a score of 3, but they can make it better by doing this, and this based on the comments. So students are familiar with this rubric structure, and they have the opportunity to invite project mentors. And that's actually another thing that we can do if you like this experience and want to work with students next year while they're actually doing the building process. We have venues for you to actually work with students and get connected directly to students to help guide their work and not just evaluate it at the end step. So once they've done that, they've gotten their reviews back from mentors, the teachers can check up on it, and they've all worked together. They can enter it into a competition. There can be multiple competitions that they're eligible for. That's especially relevant for the capstone or the other rubric on the Innovation Portal. This is the first competition that is for the engineering design process rubric that's meant for students in grades 9 through 11. But then there's other opportunities for students in grades 12 for that capstone project to submit a little bit more of a robust piece of work that they've been working on for an entire school year, instead of being one project integrated into a course that they're working on or as an after-school opportunity. So it could be either one in this case. So this is the first competition that students can submit this type of portfolio to. And they can create as many portfolios as they want. So a student that uses this in grades 9 through 12 could create a portfolio and take some of the work that they're doing in a maybe a 9th grade or a 10th grade class, submit it to this competition, and then when they become 12th graders, could create a different portfolio that's more relevant to that engineering capstone course. And then they use the entire school year, an entire course, to work through a really robust problem to design something. And so they can create as many of those as they want. So at this point now, I want to pause for questions while I log into the Innovation Portal. We're going to do a step-by-step showing you what it will look like when you go in to actually evaluate student work. Anyone have questions? All right, I'll go ahead and move on then. So the first step is to log into the Innovation Portal. You just saw me type in the password for this account that we're going to be using to show you all on this training example, but it dumps you into this page with My Portfolios. So yours may look different. Right now there's 3 portfolios that this account owns and has access to. Yours may be an orange splash screen in the because you might not have a portfolio, especially because you're judges that have just created accounts. You probably haven't created a portfolio, but it will look like this once you create one. So don't be concerned if it looks a little bit different because we're actually going to go into other tabs, this left-hand menu, with this left-hand menu bar on the left. So first, I promised you My Notifications, show you how to do that. So let's click into My Notifications. These are notifications that this account has gotten. Each of these is an email notification, but you can bypass the email to take a look at it here. So this is what it looks like when you're assigned a submission. So we said May 1st is the start of judge training. May 1st is judge window, the start of judge window. And this is what it's going to look like on May 1st when you get an assignment. So we're going to take in all those pieces of student work and then assign them out to you to evaluate. Each piece of student work is going to get at least evaluated 3 times. And this is what it will look like when you get a notification that you get a piece of student work to evaluate. So this is that notification. There's also notifications that you can click on, say view the invitation and accept, so you can bypass an email to be accepted as a judge. But let's go ahead and go into opportunities, click into there. So these are all the current opportunities right now that are available to students. So there's this PLCW Engineering National Competition. There's a current live competition in Minnesota for that senior capstone course happening. And then these 2, the NSF Prime Grant and the WISC, are both opportunities that we use to share access to. In this case, these are researchers that are doing some grant work based on another rubric on the innovation portal, engineering educators doing research about how to do engineering education. And then there's also WISC. As a prize for some competitions, they get their work evaluated for marketability and what the potential of their role is in the market. And so we share those winning teams' works with that group through this opportunity. So they're not really competitions, but they're ways that we share access. So we're going to be going into this example competition here that we just have live just for the purposes of this training. But before I click into this, I want to show you where this competition is going to move. So currently, I said these are all live and current for student submissions. Once something goes, once a student can't turn in their work to a competition, it'll go into this past bucket up here. So this filter button up here. So you'll have to click past, and then you'll find the 2017 engineering design competition. So as soon as you get an alert that says you've been assigned something, it'll actually be over here because students will not be submitting anymore, and it'll be an opportunity that's in the past, not available to students, but still relevant for you because you're doing evaluation. So we have some other competitions here. The Kansas City one I know is right now in the middle of their judging window for another one of those engineering capstone competitions, and then we had one in Wisconsin, last year's Minnesota, Oklahoma, Illinois. So there's a lot of statewide competitions. Organizations are running those, and we support those competitions, whereas the national competition that we're looking at today is run completely by Project Lead the Way. So if we click current, you'll have to click past to find this one, but instead of going into there right now, we're going to go into this example here just for the purpose of this training. So there's not a lot here right now just because it's a training example, but this is all flushed out on the 2017 Engineering Design Competition, and you can take a look at that to see what the parameters are, all the information about the competition. This is like the source document for the competition. So you can take a look at it over on the 2017 one. But what I want to show you today is you have access to be a judge if you see this bar up here. So if you click the 2017 Engineering Design Competition, if you have this bar and you can see reviews, then you are good to go. That means you are a judge in the competition. So I want to go and click reviews and show you what it'll be like when you access that student work. Once you have access to it, then we can assign it to you on May 1st. So we have 2 in here right now. We can see that there are 0 of 2 completed. So right now this account is assigned to 2 different reviews to complete, and these are the 2, 1 and 2. They're both active, which means they're both they both still need to be evaluated. So we can access it by clicking it. Let's go ahead and go into this first one. So this one we started on the cover page here. So we have a new navigation menu over here. We started on the cover page. Again, we think about this as a 3-ring binder. So each of these tabs, B through H on the right, are the elements that students will be evaluated on. And there's no content right now on the cover page, but sometimes students put pictures of themselves or maybe a picture of the work, kind of maybe an executive summary, but there's nothing to evaluate on this page. This cover page is kind of like that plastic insert on the front of the 3-ring binder. It's, makes it pretty, but there's nothing really to evaluate on it. So if we click into B, we can actually see that this is the first part that we can evaluate. So if we click this this blue pen icon, we can actually see the evaluation tool that we have as a judge. So if we hover over B first, though, we can see the rubric that students are going to be evaluated based on. So this rubric, it goes B through H. That's a kind of an interesting story. That A is going to be a plug and place for different competitions. Sometimes students will be required to do A in the PLCW course. For this competition, though, we're simplifying a little bit, and we eliminated that A. So if you don't see that A element, that's fine. This one actually starts at B, and then only in certain special cases do we add A. Oh, Ryan, you're controlling my screen. Maybe turn that off. Okay, turn that off. Sorry about that. So we're on B here. So the first part of the rubric that you have access to are the checklist questions or the reflective questions. These are questions that you could ask yourself or as a student if you've done them. So did you offer the reviewers of this portfolio research that is directly related to the problem? These are questions that students can go through and kind of like a checklist that they use to make sure they've done each component of element A, or element B in this case. So for you, it's a good read to know what is the content that's going to be covered in this element B, kind of a quick overview of what the content is. But let's go ahead and close that out. Go back to B, close that down. The next thing you have access to are the element rubric scores. So we have a score rating system of 0 through 5 built into the Innovation Portal. Some of them are going to be blank. So we talked about how the capstone course, the 12th graders, do competitions. What we've done here is generalized that tool and made it more applicable and more relevant to students in grades 9 through 11 so that they can submit their work. Instead of using the entire school year, utilize one project. And so what we've done is made the rubric simpler as well and kind of pared that down. So 0 is not going to have a score descriptor. This is intentionally blank, but you can put 0 in as a score if you find student work that is blank or falls below a 1 score descriptor. So if we click 1, we have a pretty simple score descriptor for what it takes to get a score of 1 on this element. The research is directly related to the problem. Research directly related to the problem is minimal. Sources of information are either not presented or unidentifiable or not credible. Research results are not summarized. So this is a summary of student work that would receive the score of 1. For 2, it's left blank. 3 has a score descriptor. 4 is blank. And 5 has a score descriptor. So we're only utilizing the score descriptors 5, 3, and 1. However, we talk about the scores as a stair step. So you go up 1 step and it should be an even step. So we theoretically, if we've designed the rubric correctly, that step from 1 to 3 should be the same distance between a 3 and a 5. We've put work into making sure we're trying to do that. Part of this being the first pilot year is we're going to be utilizing student work that is submitted this year to more accurately update these score descriptions and make sure that scoring is consistent from on this rating scale. So it worked where it's theoretically equal distance, but it might not be. And based on the feedback that you give us, we're going to make some edits to this. If student work falls somewhere in between a 3 and a 5, go ahead and utilize that 4. So just like a linear curve between them, well, not a curve, but linear line between them. If you think it falls somewhere in between a 3 and a 5, if it's really close to a 3, put a 3. If it's really close to a 5, you can put a 5. It doesn't have to meet all requirements of the 5 perfectly. It just has to be better than what you think a 4 would be, or that 3. So those are your score descriptors. Fairly simple in this case, so it's not going to take a whole lot of time to evaluate. The last part that you don't have is the scored element examples. So that when I went back to this being the first time, on the capstone engineering rubric, we have a very robust library of student work, and we have fairly perfect examples of what each score should, what student work of each score. And so we provide those PDF documents to judges so that they can create a baseline of expectation for what it takes to get a 3. Like if this is what a lot of people are saying should get a 3, then I can score that as that similar work as a 3 as well. And so we have that for the other rubric. This is the first time we're utilizing it on this side for grades 9 through 11, and so we don't have this available to you. So we hope to build that tool out based on the work you're doing. Thank you very much for hanging with us and doing this with us, but we hope to have that fleshed out a little bit more next year if we have having a library of student work to use as examples. So you don't have scored element examples. So let's go into the actual part where we're going to score. So if we were to relate this process to like a science fair judging, you could walk into the room and you could kind of get a feel for all the work happening that's in the room, and then you might get handed a clipboard with some score sheets on there. This is the score sheet that you get handed. So you don't have you don't have that in person, that physical sheet, but this is that physical sheet that would be on that clipboard. So you have the score descriptors, the scores, ranging from a question mark, which means that you've left it blank, 0 through 5. And then if you click the plus button, you can load that rubric up again, the same rubric that's over there in B, but you can view it differently, and you can tab over to the different score descriptors ranging from 1, 3, and 5, or what you have descriptors for. If you find student work that is blank, go ahead and load a score of 0. What that does, especially for us, Ryan and I, is we know that you took a look at it and put a score of 0 instead of accidentally leaving it on the question mark. So if you see it blank, just go ahead and put a score of 0. Oh, and I didn't show you real quickly. If you hit that plus button, you open it up, and you can also exit it out by hitting that X button. So if it takes up too much space. So let's say this student work on B, just for a training example, click 3, and then we type a comment in here. So these comments will go a few different places. I'd recommend putting a comment, even if it's really simple, into each box. It's going to help Ryan and I if we have a tie-breaking scenario, which has happened with other competitions for the capstone course, and those competitions, very, very, very close scores, because they were all getting 4s and 5s, because it was very good student work and floating towards the top. So we've used comments as tiebreakers in the past. So that's one place it can be used. Another place it can be used is providing feedback to students' teachers. So we can provide these comments to the teachers so that they can use it as a learning tool for students that in the next year, or if it's a project that's relevant in the classroom, the teachers may be using those comments. So it can go back to students at the teacher's discretion. We'll give it to the teachers, and then it also will help Ryan and I break up ties. So that's 2 ways you can help us, by putting at least some type of comment in there. So we assigned a score of 3. Note that if you click 3 here, it is not putting a score. You're not filling out that score sheet. You have to click it down here. We can close that down. Everything saves automatically, so there's still my comment in there, still punched as a 3. There's no save button because everything's saving automatically every couple microseconds. So don't get worried if you don't see a save button. Let's close that panel and open up C. You have to actually click it to load the next page of student work. And if we open up that score sheet, we have access to this again. Here's another comment. We can put that in there, and maybe the student work is a little bit lower, somewhere between a 1 and a 3, so we're going to put a 2 here. Mark them as a 2, close that down. And we're going to go through each element. So you can read through those different score descriptors. So you can click through those and kind of take a look at them. Some of them are longer than others, but these are all the elements that students are going to be evaluated on. If there's any content that would change your score on one element and a different element, don't count it. So if you think that some student work in element B kind of covers the topic in student C and would change the score of C based on what's in B, don't do that. So we're only evaluating student work in each element as it stands for that element, and students are instructed on that. So they should be fully justifying and filling out each element with the space they have in each element that specifically addresses that rubric. So I think we did C. Let's go down to B, put a score in there as well. Let's say they did pretty good on there. Got a 4. Close that down. Now the way we actually send in the work and and finalize it is click complete review up here. So if we click that, we can take it. We can see a summary of all the work that we've done, and I call this the Amazon shopping cart. It's your last chance to change anything. You get to see the summary of everything, and then you get to order it. And so we can take a look at this. We can see that we got a 3, a 2, a 4. We put those scores in there, and then we have question marks. So that's your prompt. That it's not a 0. It's just that the score hasn't been loaded. It's blank. So that would be your prompt to actually go back and fill in that score. So let's say we did E. We forgot to do that one. We click our back button on the browser, go to E, and fill this in. Let's just put a score of 5 and put in a comment. Close that down, and then we can click complete review and see that E has a score of 5 associated with it. So pretty cool to see the summary here. Let's go ahead and pretend that we filled out these ones, but we don't need to take up more time. Science fair analogy again. So this, if we've filled out our score sheets on our clipboard, and now we need to go ahead and drop those in the scoring bucket or give them to the scoring person. Once we give our scores to the score table, we can't take it back. So this is more analogous to like dropping something in the mail. This is putting the stamp on it saying, yep, it's good to go, and then we can click complete review to complete it. It looks like we have a question. You should only be assigning scores of 0, 1, 3, and 5, right? So no, actually you can use the full range of scores. Let's go back there real quick. So if you go to 3, we have descriptors for 1, 3, and 5 built out. You might think that it falls somewhere in between a 3 and a 5 though, and assign a score of 4, although you don't have a score descriptor. So if you think student work is very close to a 3 but a little bit better, you can put a score of 3. If you think it's really close to a score of 5 but doesn't quite make it, you can put a score of 5. But if you think it pretty solidly falls somewhere in the middle between a 3 and a 5, you can go ahead and assign a score of 4, and you can use that full range. All right, good question. Let's go to complete review again. We got to put the stamp on it, and then we drop it in the mail. Dropping our score sheets in the mail and finalizing it. Once we click this button, we can't take anything back. We need to build that into the system because at some point we need to determine a winner, and we need everyone's scoring done at the same time, and then no changes after that to make sure that we have the actual winners put up designated. That's actually another good point, is that in a physical science fair scenario, you would be able to kind of see all the student work and judge which one might win, which one's really high quality, and which ones are not going to be winning. When you're assigned in a virtual environment, you might be seeing the top 3 portfolios or the bottom 3 portfolios. So you could be seeing really any sampling of student work. So that's why it's so important to not score based on relative performance between the 3 to 5 portfolios that you're going to be assigned. But it's very crucial that you pay attention to the rubric and really assign based on only the score descriptors, because you could have 3 winning portfolios assigned to you. You also could have 3 that are near the bottom. So use the rubric as a tool, and if you're back next year, we'll have the scored element. We'll have scored student work that you can refer to as like a baseline to see actual student work as well. But you'll actually be setting that baseline for us by doing this judging. So thank you again. All right, so going back to our interface here. So we have this example, the example engineering design rubric portfolio that we just evaluated, and we see that it's complete. There's some other ones that are complete from prior trainings that we did as well, but we see that this is complete. We're on the left-hand navigation menu under My Reviews. This is another way you can access all the reviews that you'll have access to. If you've judged for us in the past, which I think maybe not in this session, but the session tomorrow, I think some people from Chevron had judged the prior year in the capstone, so they'll see all that student work. They could still see those portfolios that they evaluated. They'll still have access to them. But when you click on it and go in here, you'll note in element B, you don't have that blue pen icon anymore, so you can't put a new score in there. But you can see the student work, and you can see how you rated it. So if we go to review summary, we can see all the work that we actually did. Then if we go back to review, we can see the student work, which there's none here. So if we go back to the competition, go to opportunities, you'll have to click this pass button to find this competition. This competition will move into that past bucket, but for now training, we'll click this training example competition. If you go to reviews, you can see that there are now 1 of 2 complete. So this is where I'd recommend you actually you navigate to, so you can see a kind of a holistic view of where you're at, if you've completed 1 or completed none. So right now we can see their status is 1 of 2. And we can see that 1 is complete and 1 is active. So we can go ahead and complete them all. When you're completing and working through your 3 to 5 portfolios, you can choose to either do all of the work and kind of evaluate all of them without submitting, and then at the final like day, May 12th, hit submit on all of them and send them to Ryan and I to take a look at and the final scores, or you can complete 1 at a time and send those scores to us 1 at a time as you complete them. It's kind of up to you. It's whatever you want to do. Judges have preferred to do it both ways. It's whatever you'd like to do. However, if you're going to leave, if you are going to leave everything and not send us any scores until May 12th, I do ask that you just send us an email and let us know that, because on our end we're working on a pretty tight turnaround to make sure all the judging gets done May 12th so that we can announce and finalize everything May 15th. And so it's a pretty tight turnaround, and if you don't complete it, we're going to have to try to figure out how to get that reviewing done in another way. So if you let us know that in advance, if you can't get everything done, everything evaluated, we can probably work around that, but just let us know as soon as possible, because what we would like to avoid is learning on May 13th that some evaluation wasn't done, and we need to figure out a plan to do that before the 15th when we announce. So it kind of puts us in a tight spot. So it's fine if you let us know in advance. Just let us know if you're leaving everything to the last minute. Otherwise, you might get a follow-up email from us saying, hey, notice you haven't logged in or done anything. What's the plan? So you can do either way. Either send it to us 1 at a time or as a batch. And I think that kind of closes what I'm going to cover here. I know I need to pass it back to Ryan, but I want to take this chance to say thank you again. The work that you're putting in here, both on this webinar to learn how to do this, and then the 3 to 5 hours that you give us to evaluate the student work is really valuable, both as a first step to kind of learn about what students do in Project Lead the Way on your part, but also to provide this opportunity to students to get recognized on a national scale in this competition is a pretty neat thing. And you're enabling that alongside Chevron, and so I just want to say thank you again for taking the time out, and with that I will pass it back to Ryan.
Thank you, Elliot, for that. Again, I real quickly want to ask, does anyone have any quick questions before I go over some kind of next steps, additional resources we'll be sending out to you? Is there any questions anyone has that we can answer for you, or anything along those lines? Okay, looks like we're good. So shortly after this email, probably about 24 hours, maybe a little bit earlier than that, we will be sending you out a PDF, kind of a step-by-step guide for judges, just to kind of help you better understand the judging process, where to go, how to view everything, as well as we're going to go ahead and send you a PDF of the engineering design rubric as well. So the same rubric that is available to you through the portal, we'll send you a PDF version of that, so you can maybe print it out, have it side by side next to you, or maybe on another monitor, just so you can easily view it and maybe kind of make yourself familiar with that rubric as well before the competition, before the portfolios actually become available for you. One thing we didn't cover, but we always like to point this out, make sure that when you are judging or viewing portfolios that you are using Google Chrome or Firefox. Those are considered to be the best 2 web browsers, as well as you'll kind of experience less issues with those as well. So make sure you kind of, if you have a choice, use those, as well as we make sure they always are current and up to date as well. And a lot of times you could be working off an old Firefox or Google Chrome. So right there, whatismybrowser.com, and just make sure you're always current, up to date. You'll have less issues as well. And then another step to just make sure you are successfully attached to the competition. You are labeled as a reviewer, so the kind of what Elliot went over there as well. Make sure you have everything and everything looks to be set up so we can get you started in judging right away when it comes to be May 1st. Again, I know we told you we were going to be mentioning these dates quite frequently as well, but again, that judging window will be May 1st to the 12th. And if something comes up, maybe say May 5th where all of a sudden you need to leave, you're going to have to go on a last-minute trip for business or something along those lines, don't feel bad to email us. We'd rather know that you're not going to be able to judge on the 5th than know you're not going to be able to judge on the 12th, because that gives us time to reallocate additional portfolios to other individuals or find a replacement judge. So again, we understand life does come into place, or does come into play, and things do take priority, so don't hesitate to email us and say, I'm unable to judge, something's come up. We do completely understand. As well, if you ever have any questions or anything, don't ever hesitate to email innovation@pltw.org. We are here to assist you and answer any questions that you might have as well. Again, I know Elliot's stressed this as well, but we can't thank you guys enough for taking time out of your day to volunteer to be judges. The students greatly appreciate it. This is great feedback. You need to remember you're giving feedback to 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. So this is kind of keep that in mind as well when you're judging, that this is 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade work. So some of them might be new to Project Lead the Way as well as engineering. So just kind of keep that in mind as you are reviewing applications, and they do greatly appreciate it as well, because this is real professionals or professionals reviewing their work and giving them valuable feedback. So when I do know time can play a key role in that, but make sure you do give some meaningful comments so we can provide those to the teachers and help those students as well in the future. That's all that I have for today. Does anyone have any last-minute questions? Not seen any. So again, Elliot and I both thank you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email innovation@projectleadtheway or pltw.org. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'll stay on the line a few more minutes, but you're free to go. If you have any questions, follow up. I'll be here for a few more minutes and close down the meeting.